Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life, the podcast that talks about the city of Peachtree Corners, news, community happenings, people that are in this community, and the stories that you might see in Peachtree Corners Magazine expanded on a little bit more in a follow-up podcast. So hopefully you guys will be getting, by this point, the latest issue of Peachtree Corners Magazine in the mail, or you can pick it up at your nearest restaurant in the city or other businesses. Because in that issue, there's a lot of things going on. Obviously, you can see the kids breaking through in the film industry, but we also have an athlete, a student, a young lady, Autumn Clark from Greater Atlanta Christian, that is, let's call her a comeback athlete because of the things that have happened to her and her comeback. Not only in volleyball, but as well in track and field. So, and this is a great time to talk about this because the Olympics, we're in the middle of that right now, which is great. I've been watching every night. And it's cool to watch these young athletes from skate parks that are 13-year-olds doing skateboarding, street skateboarding and stuff, to swim, to track and field. So just excellent stuff. So let's bring on Autumn Clark. Hey, Autumn.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you being on tonight. So let's give the let's give our audience a little background about you. You're a student at Greater Atlanta Christian. Um, you're an athlete there, but not just there. You do club sports. So this when we did a pre-interview, when I did the Q&A for the magazine, I just didn't realize how much time it takes for a young kid to put into sports. Never mind one sport, but two sports that you're doing. So tell us, let's start back a little bit and tell us how you got into volleyball, which I believe was the first sport that you really got into.
Yeah, so I started volleyball spring of my eighth grade year. I was pretty much unaware of volleyball, and my friend at a local charity event was just like, "Hey, you're kind of tall. Like maybe you should try out volleyball." So I went in there and I tried out A5 volleyball club over in Alpharetta,
Uh-huh.
and ended up making a team. And my volleyball career kind of took off from there.
And if I understand right, A5 volleyball is ranked the national team, a national club,
Yes, they're
right?
number one ranked nationally for the last 2 years now.
So making that really made you feel that you were talented enough to actually continue in it, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Making a team there was kind of like stamping my place that I had potential for volleyball moving forward.
So you've been playing volleyball since eighth grade, going into high school.
Correct.
Um, But tragedy happened back in October. So tell us a bit about that. Was sounded bad from when you responded on that Q&A. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so basically in October of 2020, my junior season was going super well. Then I believe it was October 1st. We were playing Mill Creek. End of the fourth set, I landed really awkwardly, ended up tearing my ACL, both my meniscuses, my MCL, and I fractured my tibia in that landing.
That almost sounds like that would be the end of any athlete. I mean, just hearing that, just like unbelievable. So how'd you feel? I mean,
Honestly, it was pretty traumatizing. It was senior night, so there was a lot of people there. Thankfully, it wasn't my senior night, but
mm,
ended up kind of passing out on the floor. Uh, Woke up briefly afterwards. Thankfully, my parents were in attendance at the game, so they were there, helped me up off the court. Uh, yeah.
ended up going to the hospital likely right then.
Yeah, I actually ended up going. My athletic trainer was basically on the phone with Emory, and they put me in a giant immobilizer, and then I went. It was pretty late at night. By then, it was already about 10:30. So we
Uh,
just, I toughed out the night, and then we went to an MRI in the morning.
what was going through your mind when you were able to think about it?
Well, the first couple of hours, I was trying to be optimistic. My trainer originally told me he was like best case scenario, it's just a hyperextension, but I'd never really experienced an injury to this degree, and I was like, I know something's wrong. So later that night, it definitely hit me more. I was like, I can't walk. This is a
Mm.
huge change of lifestyle, and I kind of knew that it was probably going to be a serious injury.
Yeah, when these things happen, athletes, you're working your way through. You've been doing it from eighth grade, and all of a sudden, you're hitting this. So recovery from that has to be torturesome almost. to do physical therapy because you got to keep doing it even in pain, I would think. So, what did you go through with that, and who, where'd you go actually? Who was handling your case?
Yeah, so I got my surgery done at Resurgence Orthopedics, and then now I'm at rehab at Advanced Rehabilitation. My physical therapist is Evan. He's awesome. He's helped me through a lot. Honestly, the first couple of months were really big change of lifestyle, honestly, for since October, basically until the week after Thanksgiving. So late
Yeah.
November, I was unable to walk. I was in a wheelchair. Really didn't like crutches, so I opted for a wheelchair. And that was probably the hardest time. And since then, I've been going to physical therapy 3 to 4 times per week, even to today.
Even till today. Wow. Okay, and you learned how to pop a wheelie, I think.
I did, yeah. So I have a really large campus, so I would always
Yeah.
have friends pushing me around and kind of learned how to pop a wheelie with all my hours spent in the chair.
That's funny. There's another sport altogether. Um, so, so all right. So you're still doing physical therapy, but at some point, I guess it was. I would imagine it was still difficult. Even going through it the first month or two, because you really didn't get back to sports until mid-year, I think, this year. Um, so how did that? Did you go through, depression? I mean, how, what motivated you to keep going, to want to get back?
Yeah, the hardest part I definitely had to battle was kind of just being told no all the time.
Mhm.
Like being so used to being able to do something and then suddenly someone's like, "Hey, you can't do that anymore." And you're just like, you're used to your old kind of pre-injury self and you're just like, "No, I can do that." So it's just a big mental readjustment there. And then moving forward from that,
I mean,
coming back
you
in sport in mid-spring, it did take a while, and it was kind of hard not having volleyball. I had to wait till yeah about mid-March to come back to sport.
It sounded like you were watching volleyball on TV versus playing volleyball.
Yeah,
Was
I
that
definitely had to rely on Sports Center to kind of yeah, like you asked, to get through it. I had to really just kind of watch teammates get better, film, and kind of from an outsider's perspective, kind of get through.
Did you visit some of the games or watch practices at school when you were there? Or
Yeah, so the rest of high school season, I did attend all of the games. It was right after my injury. Basically, the season ended 4 weeks post injury for high school season, and then
Mm.
for club volleyball, I was able to attend all the tournaments. Um, and so I kind of was team manager in a sense, took stats, but could never actually
Oh, cool.
participate. But
Okay.
I was able. That kind of helps a lot too.
Yeah, I would think that would be motivating too. I mean, that would just you're still part of what's going on. You're still part of that team like that.
Definitely,
Did
kind of having the team bonding aspect really helped get through.
I would think so. And your parents obviously I would think were a great help during that time.
Definitely, especially the time period being in the wheelchair.
Hmm.
I drive myself and my sister to school, so it was big adjustment. Thankfully, my mom works at the school, so it wasn't too big of a deal.
Hmm.
Typically, she will go about 2 hours prior to school starting, so we just kind
Right.
of had to work our schedules into going at the same time. She had to
Right.
kind of go out of her way to drive me to physical therapy, and then my dad was also a big help at home. He was able to kind of help me navigate the house, make
Right.
dinner, kind of try to find ways to get me out of the house.
Right. Does your how old's your sister?
My sister is 16 right now. She's a rising sophomore at GAC this year.
Is she in sports as well?
She does throw with me in the spring. I would peg her as the more artistic type. She is well pretty much day and night different. She really loves the art. She takes 2 art classes
Okay.
currently this upcoming year. I can only draw stick figures, but she does enjoy the throws with me as well in the spring.
All right, cool. So that didn't really affect her when she saw you injured. I'm sure she was scared too, but um, she's throwing versus playing volleyball. I'm assuming there might be less injuries in discus throwing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's less like severe injuries probably in
Yeah,
throwing than volleyball, like, for
I
sure.
would think. So you're not just playing school. When you were playing, and even now, I think, right? You're not just playing school sports, and you're still. So now you're playing volleyball, right?
Yes.
And you're doing the discus on track and field,
Right.
but that's school sports. But you're also playing club sports. Are you
Yes.
doing both of those?
Yeah, definitely. I do. So I technically do. I'm on 4 teams: varsity high school volleyball, varsity high school track, and then I do club track with Rock Slingers over in Dunwoody. And then
Okay.
I throw, or sorry, and then I play club volleyball with A5 Mizuno in Alpharetta.
Man, that's demanding. Don't they have their own training schedules and stuff?
Yeah, totally. I definitely some nights am not home till about 11:30, so we're just itching on the curfew for when I can legally drive. A lot of late
Well,
nights for sure,
yeah.
but honestly, I love what I do, and I don't mind sacrificing another hour to stay up late doing my homework as a result of practice. I think
And that hasn't stressed you further physically, I would imagine. I mean, you're still doing therapy, you said before.
yeah, definitely with constant athletic activity, definitely my parents do sometimes force me instead of weekends going out and like going hiking with friends, they're like, no, stay home.
Okay. Wow.
So my weekends are definitely my rest days. Friday nights
Okay.
are my hangout with friends night. So I definitely do have to take breaks, but with being active so often, I
Hmm.
get in kind of a rhythm. So during the school day, I can kind of relax. I don't have to be. I can focus more on school, and then
Right.
my mental break comes with sports. So it's kind of a nice balance.
So that's your mental break, the sports part, I guess, right?
I think it's kind of like my freedom. Like I release from stress, so I would say less mental
Mhm.
stress.
Interesting. Well, you're putting, I think when you do the things you love, it probably is less stress on that, right? And the fact that you're doing two sports and you're doing school and club, and yeah, I think at one point I mean, you're doing weight training as well because you have to do weight training. And was that 3 times a week? But during the season, you're doing it 4 times or 5 times? No, 8 times a week, I think you said.
Yeah,
8 times a
so
week. How do you split that up? I don't know. Yeah.
basically I take a weightlifting class as one of my 7 classes at GAC. So I take
Okay.
a weightlifting class 4 times a week with
Wow.
my class, and then in the spring during track season, we weightlift another 4 times per week. So
So
that's
you,
7
8 times.
or 8, sorry.
So wait, so you're doing weightlifting obviously for volleyball because that's part of what you have to do. Different sets of weights, different sets of things for discus throwing.
Both really like to focus on the Olympic weights. So squat,
Okay.
deadlift, cleans are staples in both sports.
Okay.
Discus is definitely more heavy on loading up heavier weights, trying to hit
Yeah.
heavier reps. While volleyball, you definitely have more explosive. Like they want you a little bit lower weight, but more box jumps, more plyos, more sprints. I would
So
say
what's the heaviest weight that you can lift? Deadlift, I
I can
guess.
deadlift 345 right now.
345. Yeah. Wow. I can't even do 100, I think. Um, so and you're also running, I think, as well, or no? Any cardio activity
Yeah,
that
so
you do?
I like go for runs around my neighborhood. I'm not an invested long distance runner, but I do like to get the occasional jog in.
Okay, cool. So, when you're playing on club, you're doing tournaments as well, just like
Correct.
school tournaments. Have has anything come to a head with any of that this year? Probably not this year. I meant,
With
uh,
COVID?
yeah. I mean, as far as how is it being handled? Like, I know every school's doing it differently, and things have changed again. Just this past week for Gwinnett County, now they have to wear masks, or at least public schools have to. So how'd that affect you? How'd you feel about that actually? Did that even change anything you were doing?
So for school, it's restricted people in the stands. So basically only immediate family. So my grandparents couldn't attend for most of it.
Mm,
So that was definitely disappointing. They love to attend the games. They love making a lot of
yeah.
noise. So definitely a little bit lacking there. As far as
Okay.
the actual playing side, they try to limit high fives, team huddles, closeness, and interaction with the other team. So, like traditionally in an average season, you would go up and high five or shake hands with
Sure.
your opponent,
Right.
especially at the coin toss. And then currently, they like to keep us separated. You kind of just wave,
Yeah.
greet your opponent from a distance.
Okay.
Similar with club, for traveling purposes, we had the furthest we went this year was Texas. Typically,
Hmm.
we'll go sometimes up to Indiana, New York,
Yeah.
etc. for tournaments. This year, we kind of
Yeah.
kept it close to home, and basically had to have COVID test every tournament.
Every tournament. Okay. And you were, doing that, was that like a weekend thing or an overnight? Probably a weekend, I would imagine.
So there's both for club. Sometimes,
Right.
like when we go to Texas, it's overnight. Tennessee, it's overnight. Um, Alabama, sometimes overnight.
Hmm.
And then we have about 5 local tournaments, which will be typically at the World Congress Center.
Uh-huh.
Um, and those will just be weekend events, probably about 2 to 3 days, and we'll all commute.
And what position do you play in volleyball?
I play outside hitter, six rotation, so I never get off the court.
And you like that, I'm
Oh,
assuming.
I love it. It's awesome.
All right, cool. So obviously you started in volleyball, you sort of moved your way towards track with discus. If you had your pick, if you had to pick, which sport would you pick one over the other?
They're so different. I get this question
Mm.
actually a lot from my
Do you?
friends because they're like,
Yeah,
"You can't have, like, the same." So, it's very difficult to choose. It kind of honestly varies by the day on my mood. If I
right,
wanna talk to people and hang out with others, I'll choose volleyball. But if I'm
right.
angry and kind of wanna be alone, I will do track because track's such an individualistic sport, and,
Yes,
your talent is more based off your numbers, and it's easy to compare one another. Well, volleyball is such a subjective team sport where you can kind of be like, it's difficult to judge your talent level. Obviously, there's difference between extremes, but it's so hard to
sure.
tell. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
I would say I probably like track better just because I can focus on training specific parts, and it's kind of all on me.
hmm,
But I really love both. I don't have anything negative to say about either.
sure. Yeah, and I would imagine it is difficult on volleyball. I mean, I was just watching the men's and women's volleyball over the last few week, last this past week, and the Olympic sport, and you really can't tell. I mean, it really depends on that team and how many times you get the ball, and so many variables in that to see who's really a good player and who's not. And you know what? You could be a really good player and still miss things, just because of the way things come at you. When you're doing discus throw, what's your best throw?
I've hit 140 in practice before, but this past year because I was
Mhm.
throwing in a giant brace, my official
Right.
mark is 125. The
Okay.
125 was able to break my school record this past year, but my practice marks would blow that out of the water.
Right. Wow. That is unbelievable. One-legged? Is that what the coach called you? A one-legged throw?
Yeah, team the awards banquet at the end of the season, they're like the record board. They announced that they were going to change it for the because I broke the record, and
Right.
they were going to consider putting an asterisk by it, done with one leg, because honestly, I couldn't really with the brace. It's so restrictive. It
Yeah.
only allows you to bend probably about 30 degrees from
Yeah.
your knee. So it's just so disadvantaged because you can't get any torque
So
momentum
she,
lift.
so Autumn Clark could have done better, but for the brace. Okay,
Yes,
cool.
I love the brace because it allows me to do what I love in this state. However, I hate the brace because it's so restrictive.
Yeah, I would think. So you've obviously you excel in sports and stuff. You have a great attitude, it sounds like. Even going through what you did, and you're coming back. I mean, are you a senior now?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
a right.
you're a senior, right? Yeah, yeah, because you're being courted by Ivy League schools at this point. It sounds like. Um, any particular school you'd like to go to, and we're talking Northeast, or we're talking Midwest. What are we talking?
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna stay in the East Coast. I just kind of for school preferences.
Yeah.
Definitely have the Ivy Leagues coming after me for track. A couple of the smaller D1s as well.
Okay.
Both my parents were Auburn grads, so I potentially
Hmm.
considered going to Auburn just as a student there,
Okay.
um, and potentially
Oh,
Georgia
really?
to walk onto their track team. Um, Basically,
Okay.
how their track team works there is kind of you have to like get into the school first, and then maybe they'll take you on your track team. They don't really actively recruit.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. And I've had friends of friends, their kids go walk on for football, and that's a tough thing to do anywhere.
For sure.
Um, yeah. So, all right. So there's a lot of good local schools. So even though there might be some Ivy League schools, might stay in Georgia. Um, what what is it? What is it that you want in a school? Um,
Yeah, so I
yeah.
kind of look at my three personal pillars. Academics one, um, athletics two. Every morning I turn on Sports Center, so I just want some form of even like club sport that I can go watch like every day, just kind of like,
Mm.
and then three, kind of social life, clubs around campus, things I can get involved on the weekend. So just those three
Okay.
pillars are kind of what I want in a school.
Cool. That's strong things to want for sure. Now, academically speaking, though, it was surprising a little bit to you and your dad, who's a aerospace engineer but
Mhm.
flies for Delta,
Yes.
decided that you guys were going to build actually a 3D printer yourselves, right? That was 2019, I guess, during COVID. Is that during
Actually, the
COVID?
year prior, before COVID, we built
Okay.
it, and then
Okay.
during COVID this past year, we ended up adding some more. We made a laser printer as well. We added onto it. It kind of was an addition to
Mm-hmm.
the original plastic filament of the 3D printer.
Interesting. So, I mean, that was fun. That was something that you and your dad did. Obviously, you have some scientific science bent or interest there, I would think. Maybe
Definitely.
that, yeah. Does that run in the family? Maybe that runs in the family.
Yeah, so
Um,
my dad's dad is also an air engineer, and my dad's an
right.
aerospace engineer. So I would
Okay.
differ a little bit, probably going the bioengineering route, with hopes to end up in medical field pre-med. Um,
That would be cool. Biofabrication is the future of science, I think. So you want to do that, right? I mean, what's your favorite subject now in science?
Currently chemistry,
Okay.
but right now I am enrolled to take AP Bio and dual credit physics. So those will be this will be kind of my first year of exposure to physics. So I'm really excited to take that course this year. My dad and I always like talking about Newton's laws and
Right.
studying him. So it should be interesting to kind of dabble in that this year. And so my favorite subject might change. We
Yeah.
have to see.
Interesting. Where are you going to be doing that dual enrollment?
Colorado Christian is the
Okay.
college that my school associates dual credit with.
Oh, okay, cool. So eventually, when you do pick a school, though, you're looking. What's ultimately your goal for your degree and what you want to do in the future?
Yeah, so my ultimate goal would be to be a surgeon. However, I
Hmm.
have to kind of dabble in the surgery field to but I'm leaning probably more orthopedic. My surgeon who works at Resurgence Orthopedics,
Yeah.
has offered once I turn 18 in October to potentially
Mhm.
shadow him and kind of see what he does. And
Wow.
so I think I'm going to do that this coming year, come October.
What an excellent opportunity. Now you got interested because I think, if I remember right, it was because you dissected a frog in science class, and you thought that
Yeah,
was cool to be able to see that.
definitely. It was honestly, I definitely it was the anatomy and like kind of the bone structure that really
Hmm.
struck me as interesting. They kind of had to like pull it away from me. We only had a 45-minute slot, and I was like doing a
Wow.
little skin graft, and I was like, I want to see its bone, and then because we were
Oh,
only
that's funny.
supposed to kind of do like the gut to see the basic anatomy of the frog, but I
Right,
wanted to do
right.
more. Uh, that
That's
definitely
cool.
sparked my interest.
Excellent, excellent. That's great. Going a little further than what they wanted you to do and pushing the envelope there a little bit. Um, I would go through your day in the life of Autumn Clark, but it's so packed with stuff.
Too much to go
I
out
can't. I
there.
just Yeah, I just can't believe how typical. If when you guys when you guys listen to this, you should either pick up the magazine or go online and check out the digital edition, because her school day is just unbelievable. Um, I just like I asked the question, when do you rest? And I mean, the weekend, yeah, I can see that, but like you said, you go until 11:30 at night sometimes. That's when do you eat? Do you eat dinner? What's your favorite
Fast food is
meal of the
awesome.
day? That's funny. It's yeah. You have so many hours that you're putting into this, and it's good uh, that you're passionate about it, right? Um, so what is your favorite meal actually? Like, what would you say your favorite meal is? Going through that.
Ooh. If I wanted to be like fancy, I'd always go steak and baked potato at Outback Steakhouse or something. That would be
Okay.
like that's like my birthday dinner meal. But I would say like more of a common meal that I have more often is lemon peppered wings and mac and cheese from Buffalo Wild Wings. Like to get that basically. Like I said, my parents both attend Auburn, so football
Right.
game days are pretty big at my house. So we usually do wings on Saturdays.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, cool. And what's on your playlist currently?
Ooh, uh, my mom calls me a boy band fan. So definitely all the One Directions, all the 5 Seconds of Summer. Got some Taylor Swift in there. Got some Camila Cabello in there. Very pop, and then of course I have my country playlist as well. Big Jason Aldean fan. Big Thomas Rhett fan as well.
Cool. Do you listen to any of that as you're training, or is it yeah?
Yeah,
All right,
so country is kind of like my car ride, and then pop will be my workout slash sports playlist.
cool. What you skateboard as well? It
Yeah, I
sounds
like
like.
to skateboard and ripstick with my friends when I have free time. Big parking garage is also at Town Center over in just across the way
Okay.
from Peachtree, or sorry, from the Forum. Is
Yeah,
a really great spot to skate in the summertime.
that's cool. We should, I think the city at some point should probably get a nice big skate park. There is one at Picnicville Middle, but it's kind of small, I'm told.
Hmm.
Um, so a lot of kids do Brook Run, which is way bigger. It's a
Yeah.
nicer place. Um, Favorite book, movie, genre?
Ooh, definitely Harry Potter. Um, love the series, even though Voldemort scares me every time in book four, especially in the movie. Just so well put together. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely my favorite series. And I also love the Hunger Games as well. So kind of
Okay.
action, not so fiction books are
Right.
definitely my favorite.
What was your favorite Harry Potter book?
Ooh, tough one. I gotta go for. It's just so much, so action
Really?
packed.
All right, cool. Um, Well, we're at the tail end of what we're doing here, podcast with you, and I do appreciate the time you've given us. Is there anything you want to share with maybe young athletes that are younger than you, or athletes that might have faced same type of injuries and having to come back? Anything you want to share with them?
Yeah, so definitely from the injury side, really quick. I think
Hmm.
it is important to take your time to rehab, but coming back too quick, can extend your injury farther, kind of
Yeah,
prolong it. Especially at the beginning stages when you're told no, like that you can't do anything. I think it's really important to focus on being able to understand that it's not that you're doing anything wrong, it's just that you are still healing.
right,
And that's still something I struggle with, even it's been nearly it's coming up on 11 months post injury, and I still
right.
struggle with that. So with knee injuries, it's a really long timeline. Um,
Mhm.
and then I guess for just student athletes in general, or any younger high school students, honestly,
Right.
I think that it's important to develop grit and work ethic from early stages, because those who don't need an external motivation such as your parents or your teachers to get you to do something, going out of your way to ask the coach, hey, what can I work on after practice, or going to the teacher after class and asking what you should study, how you can do an assignment better. Just those little things can help push you a little farther ahead in life, and you'll find that it just kind of is an exponential growth of success. Once you do the little things, they build on each other to where you can be more successful in anything you put your mind to.
Right. Well said. We've been with Autumn Clark, student at Greater Atlanta Christian, a volleyball player, a discus thrower, track and field, a young lady that has come back from injuries and is doing really well and has broken her school record on discus as a one-legged thrower because of her brace. So I appreciate you coming on with us. Thank you, Autumn.